Kyle Dubas doesn't have a plan. and he hasn't had a plan. Well, basically, here's my theory on July 1st. One bad July 1st begets another. Mm-hmm. You look at the Jari extension, you look at the Graves contract, you look at trading for Riley Smith, which unfortunately didn't work out, although I really like Riley Smith, and then having to trade him retained to get rid of him.
Yeah.
To the New York Rangers. Nice little pickup by them.
Yeah.
At some point, what he was saying is you got to have a conversation about Sidney Crosby and how long he could be in Pittsburgh.
All right, here's Chris Johnston talking about Sidney Crosby.
No, I want to paraphrase him.
On the Chris Johnston show.
I was actually just going to send you the link. It's perfect. This is great.
If I had a crystal ball, I would probably project that Sidney Crosby would be calling up Nathan McKinnon and being like, hey, you want to play at least a year or two together? I can totally see Sidney Crosby in a Colorado Avalanche uniform. I know my brain has done a complete 180 from the last time we talked about this, where just I do not see him leaving Pittsburgh. I'm starting to get to that other side now.
See, he's got to probably look himself in the mirror this summer, obviously have chats with people close to him that matters. But it's like, do you want to play these last couple of years where you're still at a high? I know a big carrot for Crosby is that he's going to get to now play best on best again. He's going to get to play with the younger generation. That'll be cool for him, whether it's at the Four Nations or the 2026 Olympics. Like, that's all locked in. But do you want to be kind of toiling in mediocrity? Do you want your season to end on April 10th? You know, the answer is no, but I just don't see the path back to the playoffs quickly for the Penguins. Okay, you might make the playoffs. Like, Washington made the playoffs this year and they were swept in 4 games. I don't see the path back to really contending. I don't know how this shakes out. None of this is meant to suggest he's gone or anything like that. It's just, I'm looking at the landscape and I'm looking at the fact he hasn't signed his new deal. I'll say this. Yeah, I think he had a 5-year contract at a entry level at an $8.7 million cap hit. Then he did a 12-year deal. That's the one that's ending at an $8.7 million cap hit. I'm willing to bet his next contract is for more than that. I'm willing to bet he's not signing for $8.7 million to ride out the career.
Now, that caused a kerfuffle because the suggestion that Sidney Crosby could leave Pittsburgh, is understandably upsetting, right? I think that's fair.
I just want
to get no. Let's
acknowledge.
Okay,
go ahead.
Acknowledge me. I need you to acknowledge the fact that if I were a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, I would be very upset about the idea. And Crosby, his entire career, has been known for one thing above all, and it's loyalty beyond his skill.
Yeah,
right.
Okay. I think it's disingenuous to say that what's being suggested isn't like heartbreak.
Oh,
like this is
100%.
Absolutely devastating, 100%. And you have to acknowledge those feelings of the people who don't want to hear this stuff because it would hurt them so much. And one thing CJ said in there that I think illustrates your point, Adam, about how loyal Crosby is. Has there been ever a player who played out the entirety of a 12-year deal in the NHL? Out of every 12-year deal that has been handed out in the NHL's history, has anybody played on the entire thing in the one team?
So
Duncan Keith got close.
He didn't get there.
Didn't get there.
The two in Minnesota didn't get there.
Yeah. Kovalchuk, Parise, Suter did not get there.
Nope.
DiPietro got injured, but it was 15 years.
Luongo?
No.
Didn't get there.
I think.
And by the way, they don't all have to be 12. They just need to be currently illegal.
Yeah. I'm just talking about the massive deals that are over the 8 years that you can hand out now.
Weber, no. I don't remember. Well, Datsuk, no. Did Zetterberg? I don't remember if Zetterberg signed an illegal one.
Well, no, he finished his career in Arizona, so no.
Hossa, with a big whole asterisk.
Yeah,
Zetterberg signed the 12-year and he finished in Arizona, so he didn't complete it.
Zetterberg ended up in Arizona? Henrik Zetterberg?
Or because he retired in 2018.
Yeah.
And the contract was through 2021. So I guess, maybe he didn't end up in Arizona. I got that wrong.
Well, he retired before the end of his contract.
Right. There you go.
Same with Hossa, retired before the end of his contract. I don't think a single one made it. And if they did, okay. So there's the exception to the rule.
That's a cool.
I think that was the stat I was trying to.
That's a damn
do with you guys on the
Ovechkin.
spot.
Oh, Ovechkin. Yeah. Okay.
How long was Ovi's?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did you know what? I can.
It might be the two of them.
Yeah.
Ovechkin, I got him here. Alex
Crosby at
Ovechkin
8.7.
13 years. So we have two people.
Wow.
And it's those
Crosby and Ovechkin.
Just
there you go.
Too perfect.
Capitals fans are probably yelling at us the whole time.
What about us?
Me!
Because Ovi actually would have been the first because he played out his deal from 2008 to 2021.
Ovi better, just like we all knew.
There you go.
I think that always claimed.
I think that's pretty cool. Like
Yeah,
it shows what kind of guy Crosby is and Ovechkin.
Well, and the fact that that frankly, he has never complained. He has never he hasn't put a foot wrong ever in Pittsburgh. And I think so. Getting back to the feelings and the reaction to some of this, especially when it's framed as like some sort of we're trying to get one over on the Penguins here. I think the reality of the situation is Ray Bourque finished his career in Colorado.
Yeah, and after 22 years, someone else because he stayed in Boston.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Great story.
Gretzky got traded. Like, you have to be open. Listen, is it entirely possible that Sid spends the rest of his career in Pittsburgh? Yes. But they're going to have to spend a lot of money to do that. And that means, okay, so you don't like the idea of Crosby going, and I get that. That means Malkin and Letanga got to go. And Crosby's probably got to be okay with not being good for the last 3 years. Because this team, unless they do something bold, and that's not traditionally Kyle Dubas's MO. He's not a bold guy. Mm-hmm. His biggest boldness was re-signing the players that he had. I never saw a cutthroat thing from Kyle.
Go look at the core from before COVID and now. It's the
same core. And I think... So Kyle, when he does this, he's actually quite conservative. He's very measured and wants to mitigate risk. And the Penguins need, it's funny that we bring up the Capitals. The Penguins need to do, if they want to be good for the last couple of years of Crosby here, they got to do what the Capitals did, but you'll have to wait till next year to do it. You have to find a distressed asset and do a 1-for-1 for that distressed asset. The Pierre-Luc Dubois deal, the Mangiapane deal. Then they go out and they sign Matt Roy to that 7-year contract, which is a big bet. But with the cap going up, I'm sure they're looking at it going, well, as his play diminishes, so will his percentage on the cap, and it won't hurt us that much. I mean, really, it's trickier now to sign a bad deal long-term because of where we think the cap's going to jump. I know that sounds crazy to say, but it is.
You know what? Life finds a way.
Yeah, absolutely. My point is, Pittsburgh did nothing, has done nothing, and appear to be doing nothing. And so it is logical that if you're Sidney Crosby, and here's what's coming up, right? We got the Four Nations Cup.
Yep.
We got the Olympics.
Yep.
You want to be...
He'll be at both.
He's going to be on an all-star team. The Monstars, basically, except for goaltending. And he's going to go in there and go, oh, this feels fun. Oh, winning. This feels really good. And this guy's a winner.
He hasn't played in a best-on-best tournament that featured Connor McDavid in 8 years, and he wasn't even on his team.
No. And that's the point, Steve, is that I look at this guy and I think, man, of course the guy wants to win. And so would it be all that bad? If you're a Penguins fan, I want you to think about this, just about the ideologically. Would you rather have let's say Crosby plays 4 more years. Mm-hmm. Let's say at least 3 of them you're not in the playoffs. I mean, the Capitals made the playoffs, but that's because the Metros sucked this year, and it won't next year, right? So let's say the Penguins don't make the playoffs the next couple of years. Are you cool as a Crosby fan and a Penguins fan with being like, yeah, no, at least he stayed though? Or would you rather see him go and win somewhere and cheer for him there too?
Well, there's the honest answer and there's the lie.
I think most people would say, I'd rather see him go and win. He's brought a lot to our city. Mm-hmm. 3 championships in 15 years. I think that's pretty spectacular. And
it's the cap record.
Yeah.
I keep going back to that. Oh, well, when talking about Crosby versus the all-time greats, when he is an all-time great, people go, well, this guy won 4, this guy won 5, this guy won 6. Okay. From the beginning of Sidney Crosby's career, where it became exponentially more difficult to win the Stanley Cup, he is tied for the cap record with 3. In terms of leading a team, being a top 3 scorer on a team and winning a championship, what's the list of guys who have done it? It's small. It's Crosby, Malkin,
Stamkos, Taves, Duncan Keith.
Stamkos has 2.
Oh, he's 2.
Mhm.
Right.
Stamkos is 2. He's 4 cracks at
So
it.
it's like Seabrook, Keith, Tays, the core from that group.
The core from the Blackhawks.
Not even the goalie, because their first one was Antti Niemi.
Yep. Not the Kings. Not the Lightning. Like, think of
I like
how.
how- just to know, when you start off with the Blackhawks, you start off with Seabrook.
Yeah.
Well, he was a big deal.
He was a big deal.
Seabrook was great. All
He
right?
patted Jonathan Taves on the back in the box that one time.
It's like I'm like, the 90s Bulls and Steve
Listen,
Kerr.
I like
Game-winning shot.
Yeah, but
How dare you?
I like Duncan
it's
Keith.
weird to start with Kerr.
I liked Seabrook. I liked Seabrook a lot. I used to draft him in my 2011 fantasy games.
It's this conversation. I like these conversations because it applies across pro sports, and it's always fun to look back on careers because they never end at the top. That's just the way it works. They always kind of end with a whimper because these are pro athletes and they're going to go out until the game tells them they can't play anymore. And you look at guys who have played their whole career in one place. One example I always go back to is Kobe Bryant, who famously asked for a trade in the 2007 offseason. Like, he was almost I think it was the Dallas Mavericks. They almost moved it to, I think it was Mark Cuban who told the story about how they almost acquired Kobe Bryant. And they just said, no, like, we're going to stick it out with you. They ended up winning 2 more championships. And he said, I'm going to be a Laker for life. But then the Lakers sucked. Yeah. And the last few years of Kobe Bryant's career, the Lakers were just dog shit. And he put up all his points on this garbage team. And that's usually how dynasties end. They don't end at the height where you win the championship and you walk off, and they'll usually end with this slow burnout. And there's a case where Crosby goes to another team and he can keep winning, or he just sticks around in Pittsburgh and it ends with a whimper.
Hey guys, you know what? This conversation is kind of depressing. Instead, I want to make a playlist. Okay, do you mind? Here's the first 5 songs.
You just want to do this thing.
Oh, hey, here's the first 5 songs on the playlist. Don't worry, it ties in. Okay. First song on my playlist is going to be "Psycho" by Post Malone featuring Ty Dolla $ign. "Meant to Be" by Baby Rexha and the Florida Georgia Line. "No Tears Left to Cry" by Ariana Grande. "God's Plan" by Drake. Biggest artist in the world right now. No one's saying any bad things about him. And also "Nice for What" by Drake. That's the top 5 from the Billboard chart. The last week, Crosby was in the 2nd round. Guys, it's been a while, and it's not going to get better. Like, I don't understand. Here's the thing. Here's where I'm at, and here's where I got upset yesterday. First of all, don't you ever fucking dare come for CJ. Ever. Or Julian. Ever. Not in your life. Not in front of me. Number 2, if you're going to get mad for the right reasons, please. Let's not just throw things out there because of our emotions and our feelings. Listen, I should know. Okay? I'm the king of that. Is it heartbreaking if Crosby were to get traded and not end his career in Pittsburgh? Yes.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair.
That's heartbreaking and sad.
That's fair.
And bad and no good. And I don't like it. And I don't have to enjoy watching him on another team. And I want him to play for my team. I understand that. Okay? This Canadian media cheering on Crosby's... I'm just going to go through a greatest hits of the dumb fuckery that I saw. The Canadian media cheering on Crosby's downfall. Please show your work. What are you talking about?
I don't think anybody said that.
Yeah, they did. They did. I'm not making it up.
No, I don't think anybody in the Canadian media is like, yeah, I can't wait for Crosby to go down.
Yeah, I can't wait for the guy who scored the golden goal in 2010.
Yeah, I understand. If you're not from here, Sidney Crosby is revered in Canada.
Is there another Sidney Crosby I don't know about who's an asshole and you're talking about him?
No.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I think it comes from this.
Oh, I didn't get to go through my list.
I'm sorry, but let me start. Let me just stop you on that.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from a lot of people see staying, and this is a artificial construct, by the way. A lot of people see staying with the same team the entire career as legacy, and if you leave, it diminishes legacy, which I think is complete crap. Especially when you expect these athletes to be, and as Jesse said, the empires die with a whimper, dynasties die with a whimper. I don't want to see Sidney Crosby on the Penguins team that I saw last year. And by the way, they did nothing in the last month. Nothing. Not even a first-round pick. They weren't even able to get into the first round. They are at the Sphere. Everybody's having a good time. Dubas doesn't have a first-round pick.
They're not in a great spot.
They're not. They have an empty cupboard. They have overpriced deals. They've got guys that are aging, and they won't. It's not just that they won't let go of Crosby, which that's up to him.
We're having an identical conversation to last year.
Malk and Letang are guys that are getting older, and they're playing well.
Last year.
But again, it is the same identical conversation. So I think it comes from, to make a point about that, I think that's where that comes from.
Sure.
And if you're in Pittsburgh, I can see why you see it that way. But just so you know, nobody thinks it diminishes Crosby's legacy to not be a Penguin.
No.
Yeah, and I think that might be the reaction in the moment from some fans, but long term, I don't think anybody looks back on players who play like the majority of their career and then go somewhere else. I don't think they're looked down upon in any type of way because it happens so often.
Gretzky played for 4 teams. Do we call him the Great One asterisk?
Right. Like, yeah, no.
You know what? My favorite thing about Messier's 6th cup is it doesn't count.
Yeah, that sure wasn't memorable at all.
No.
Yeah, like, you don't look down on Matt Sundin any differently. Like, he doesn't become less of a Leaf great. Like, I don't think
he played for the North
Leaf
before,
fans wanted him to get traded because that was the logical thing to do. Hey, we're bad, Matt.
Can you help us be good?
Hey, you know how we're not going to make the playoffs? Don't you want to play in those? And he said no.
Yeah, Tom Brady might be even more of a Patriot because he left and he won with somebody else. And then they're like, oh, screw our team. We love Tom even more because of that. You know, like, I feel like just with time, everybody's going to forget about whatever Crosby does at the end, and he's a Pittsburgh Penguin for life. We all know that.
And if he does stay in Pittsburgh, then he stays in Pittsburgh. That's great. But it does seem antithetical to Sidney Crosby's personality to be like, yeah, I'm cool with a rebuild over the next 3 years, because that's what you're looking at. Well, you're not looking at a retool in Pittsburgh.
Not to mention, Crosby's going to stay there his whole career, just like Mario did. Okay, we're not leaving out several things, are we?
Yeah, Mario had some serious health issues.
Like health issues, retirements.
Multiple.
He was a part owner the last time he played for them. Guys. Oh my God. I saw one other guy, we're going to talk about them like they're a small market. They have 3 championships. Guys, they almost left.
Pittsburgh is a small market.
It is a small
market. Doesn't matter how many championships they have. They are. But it's the amazing thing about Pittsburgh is because what's the miracle of the Penguins is that they are one of the most followed teams. They are one of the most impassioned markets. Mm-hmm. Their TV ratings are locally usually among the top 5 in the league. Yeah. And that's not on a per capita basis. That's just generally. So Pittsburgh's like Green Bay, the Packers, small market, small freaking market, but hugely followed, never going anywhere, right? Pittsburgh did almost leave, yes, but I think that those days are over. What we need now, they're owned by an enormous group.
Yeah, 2024 is different.
They're not. So what I think everybody knows that they need now is a rebuild, and like top to bottom.
Do they know that? Based on the conversation we just had, they don't know that.
Well,
they're not aware.
I think that the idea in Pittsburgh with certain people is yeah, they rebuild, but Crosby would obviously stay. And I just can't see how that's possible.